Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer, our returning champion. How you doing today, Joe?
I just returned because I tell you, I will not be here in 2 weeks.
What?
Yep. I'm taking a vacation.
You're already taking time off.
I know. What a great way to start out 2020.
You are such a slacker.
Yeah, I mean, we can't all be doing 25 podcasts, 3 jobs, ungodly amounts of overtime, novelcast, and whatever other weird shenanigans you have cooked up.
I'm shenanigans.
Yeah. No, we're my wife and I decided, since I've still got time off, we're going to go down and visit my folks in Florida. We have not decided what we're going to do when we're down there. Part of me wants to run to the Disney Star Wars experience, not so much to have the experience, but just to buy a bunch of swag to bring back and sell, because I'm that type. I did that back in 2001? I think, well, right after 9/11, we had taken a family trip because I had sold the shop, and it was really cheap. I mean, we were there for like 4 days, and 4 of us for like $1,600, all of us, on the resort grounds, which was amazing. And what was interesting was that I bought a lot of stuff. I bought like the Star Wars swag. I got the Indiana Jones stuff. I ended up with 2 U-Haul boxes of stuff shipped home. And it was almost like when you and I went to San Diego. What did I have? 4 boxes shipped home? I don't remember. Quite a bit of swag. And I told my wife about that going down. I said, we could pick this stuff up and I could probably pay for the trip because it's not expensive to get to Florida. But, oh my Lord, did you see how much it costs to get into these theme parks?
I have not looked.
Oh, man. $180 for Universal for 1 day. $109 to get into Disney. And again, that's all the places. And one of the local hosts, who's a big Star Wars geek, went down and he said the lines to get into the Star Wars rides were like 4 hours. Ugh. You had to get there right away and get a time to get in, or you weren't going to get in. And I'm kind of like, well, the time we're looking at going, mid-January into February, it's kind of a slow time of the year anyways. But do we really want to take a chance, drive all that way up, get there? I told Chris I'm perfectly happy running through the Magic Kingdom or going to Epcot, which is more, in my view, was more adult orientated.
Oh, or adult orientated.
I know. Or I said we could just run to the Star Wars thing and I'll go hit the gift stores. That's all I really care about. So I'll be taking a trip.
Ah, what a slacker.
I know. I learned from the best.
Now, you have been on vacation.
Sort of.
And on drugs.
Yeah.
For about a month?
Pretty much. And this, I suppose, we'll call this the end of Hip Watch 2 Electric Boogaloo, the epilogue.
So what did you do with all of your time other than sit in the chair and hallucinate?
Actually, the one thing about this particular hip operation, it went extremely well. Last time with Hip Watch 1, I had spent almost 5 months in pain. I couldn't walk, and the recovery was just god-awful because it was almost like having to the whole leg had to be retrained, the knees, the ankles, the hip. This one, though, I went in and I wasn't really in much pain. It's always weird. I'm having a deja vu moment, so I may have said this before, but, I've got rheumatoid arthritis. So, the big question is, what's your pain level, 1 through 10? I said, well, I'm normally at a 1 or 2 anyways. And the hip was like anywhere from a 1 to 4, depending on what I went. So, asking me what my pain level is, if it's a 1 or 2, I'm just living with it. That's my daily existence. So I went in and, I did a outpatient as opposed to going to the hospital. We showed up at like 6 in the morning. cold winter day, dark out, and the place was locked up. There were lights on, and I'm like, well, they must have known I was coming because they said get here 15 minutes early, and I'm supposed to be here at 6. So we went around to the back, and that's where the nurse entrance was, and I hit the button and go, hello. I said, yeah, I'm supposed to be here for a operation at 6. Well, yeah, you're supposed to go in the front door. I said, well, we were there. The front door is locked. I'll go around front. No, wait there. And as she was coming down, another nurse came in and was like, what are you doing? I said, well, last year I got this nice shiny new hip. I thought I'd get the second one and get a match set, I'm a little OCD that way. So, but it went in, the operation went well. Again, it was, we're going to give you something to relax. And then I woke up and said, wow, that was quick. Pain level was not as intense. I'm like maybe a month out, and I'm actually walking without a cane. The sorest I get, most sore, is like when I'm walking on hard surfaces, like Target or well, it's wintertime. I don't walk out there much. But like when I go walking through Target. So.
How about when you're walking on sunshine?
I haven't seen any sunshine. Minnesota, Although we do have to be thankful because I guess we just missed a really badass winter storm. So I'll take it cold. But so all in all, this hip actually went really well. So I'm actually pretty happy. Consequently, I was not so much drugged out as I was the last time round, where I just sat and all I could do was, watch TV because it was too painful to do anything else. I did read a lot. Oddly enough, I did not read any comic books.
What?
I got my box stay the week of the surgery, and I just got my current box stay, and so I've got like 2 box stays to read, and that also includes like a Final Crisis omnibus, a Annihilation omnibus, the Joker omnibus, the Complete Lifetimes of Uncle Scrooge 1 and 2 from Fantagraphics, the 0 Hour Crisis in Time. I got a lot of omnibuses here. My house is beginning to shift. I'm going to have to distribute the weight a little better. That said, I did watch some stuff. I mentioned, I think last time, that I finished up Deep Space Nine. I started it with my old hip, and then I kind of stopped watching episodes. And then when the new one kicked up, I figured, okay, let's finish this up. I was like at the mid of season 6. Went through season 7, the end of the Dominion War, all that. Once that was done, I looked for a documentary called What We Left Behind, looking back at Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Oh, yeah, I remember when they were raising money for that. I have not seen it yet.
I actually bought it on Amazon. So if you ever come over and you want to watch it, feel free. You can find it. I think it was like $5.99. It's one of those, rent for $4.99, buy it forever for $5.99. It's like whatever. And it was cool. I mean, it was interesting. They got all the actors, both. Forgive me, Renee, who played Odo, and Aaron, who played Nog. They've since passed away. They were both still around when this was done. They talked to everybody. It was so cool to see a lot of the actors out of makeup, especially ones who played Kardashian or Jeffrey Combs, who just played a myriad of characters. And I'm trying to think of I'm going to use the old Kray 4000 here and fire up, because what they did is what we left behind. I'm trying to think of the name of the showrunner that was instrumental in this era. Something I got his picture right there, but I don't think of his name here. But he was there. He was Era Stephen Bear, who was co-director and executive producer, and he had been on Deep Space Nine, and they basically just let him run with this. And before we get going too much on Deep Space Nine, Cory, what do you think of Deep Space Nine as far as Star Trek or a series?
Other than the original series, Deep Space Nine is my favorite because of the complexity of the situation they set up. the characters were deeper and richer than in other shows. And it also, because they're out on the frontier, I felt it led to more, the essence to me of storytelling is where a character has to make a decision. You have to do either this or that. And the decisions that they had to make on Deep Space Nine were darker. They were more nuanced. It wasn't, we must abide by the Prime Directive. It was more, what is the least worst of these choices?
For me, what I loved about Deep Space Nine, and I'm going to get into a little bit behind the scenes stuff. In Next Generation, every time we run across a new species, and I'm thinking the Cardassians, the Shellyak, the Breen, the Tholians, we've already had a war with them, we being the Federation Starfleet. And the episodes always, would they have to keep the peace at all costs? I remember this one where they got into had a war with this species, and one of the Federation guidelines was that they wanted to recover all the kids that were taken by this during this war. And Picard runs across one of these kids, and then the father comes for it. And the father's ready to start a war. He wants his kid back, even though it's a human child, and Picard's under directive to bring him back. And Picard basically says, yes, we'll give the child to you, because it's obvious this guy loves the kid, wants him back. But again, they'd had the war. All these species they had wars with. Every time the Federation discovers these guys, Klingons, Romulans, whatever. And there's even points to me that go, you know what? The Cardassian War was going on when when Star Trek Next Generation was started. That's how soon they were, and they never mention it. And there's reasons why. Roddenberry and they didn't really plan it out. I've been reading two books, the 50-year mission, the first 25 years, and then the next 25 years by Edward Gross and Mark A. Altman. I've mentioned it in previous podcasts where they're basically, it's a oral history of Star Trek. These guys have been doing, Gross and Altman have been doing interviews with Star Trek directors, writers, producers, actors, Roddenberry, friends of Roddenberry, almost everybody, any name that's a name in the Star Trek. And the first book deals with, of course, the original Star Trek. The second deals with Next Generation through Abrams. And what would you say, Cory? What's your opinion of the first season of Star Trek Next Generation?
Oof.
And a lot of that was because of Roddenberry.
Well, there was that. There was a lot of fighting behind the scenes. I watched a documentary with
Shatner,
who was it?
Wasn't it? Was it Shatner did it?
No. Well, he may have been involved in it, but it was interviewing David Gerolds and DC Fontana about the writing end of it. And they had been hired as showrunners, and yet everything they did, they were told no.
Yeah, and a lot of that was, and I could probably go, I don't have the second book with me. I could look up the name and tell you who it was that was doing that, because there were certain people that got it in their head. I am in charge of keeping Roddenberry's vision. And the first one is, and you can tell the folks why this is wrong, Star Trek, Starfleet personnel do not have conflict with each other.
Well, if you have a story with no conflict, you have no story.
And believe me, as I'm reading through the 50-year mission, that came up over and over and over again. And that was such a headache for Next Generation. It was a headache wasn't a headache in Deep Space Nine. It was a headache when Voyager started, not so much Enterprise. And even into over and over, as I'm reading this, you just want to scream, because you can look at the episodes like in Voyager. Voyager starts out really good, and then it kind of putters because they had this chance. You're totally were somewhere. You got no Starfleet. You're on your own. Half the crew is Maquis, who are hostile to the other half, who are Starfleet. By the second episode, they totally blew that off.
Yeah. And that was one of the things about Discovery that people are pissy about still. You know, it's look, they shouldn't be having Starfleet. There's no conflict. Blah blah blah. And the people running the show are like, you do realize no conflict, no story. We're and it's not so much the Roddenberry people, but the fans. The fans who are saying, you're not real Star Trek because the crew fights with each other.
Oh,
and all I have to say is, could you please go back and watch the original series for any time Spock and McCoy are talking? Because especially the real early ones, McCoy was a nasty racist, man.
oh.
It's weird when you go back because you just think of it as, they have this friendly rivalry from the movies. But you go back to the original series, and if you haven't seen it for a while, it's like, oh, wow, is McCoy a racist jerk?
And what you said just keeps coming up and up. I mean, as I'm reading through the making of Voyager and the making of Enterprise, and I want to say it was Rick Bergman, if I'm saying the name right. He was what I call the Roddenberry influence. He was the one who, I mean, it's a catch-22. These guys love him because he's brilliant. He was in charge of making Star Trek go as far as it was, but he was also the one who kept saying no conflict. He would poo-poo things. You can see occasionally when things got through, like the two-parters that Voyager would do, which were infinitely better than a lot of the one-shot ones. And it's real interesting because one of the producers, and I think his name was Prega, I'm not sure, he left for a little bit, if I'm saying this right, came back, and he said, guys, we're doing this all wrong. In the meantime, television had moved on to serialization, to plot lines moving forward from one episode to the next. Again, the A story was the A story, but then the B story would go on through things. And he was like, Star Trek's got to move and evolve beyond this. We're not doing good television. We're not even doing good Star Trek. But there was always that one person who was in charge. No, this is Star Trek. This is Roddenberry's vision. We got to keep it doing. The studios, of course, wanted the syndication idea where you can drop any episode in and watch it at any time and not have to worry about, hey, where am I in the series? Deep Space Nine doesn't do that as much. And Enterprise, I think they broke away from that. Was it the third season?
Yeah.
And so, again, you're reading this book, The 50-Year Mission, and you just want to scream how good Star Trek could have been, but the powers that be just shot it in the foot because it's got to be Star Trek. And even Voyager ended up being just Next Generation, just out in space. We find a planet, they have a problem, we solve it, we move on. And it just, if I had hair, I'd tear it out because it's what I've always thought about Star Trek. There was so much there, and it wasn't just me. I always felt bad because I kind of faded away on Voyager. I faded away on Enterprise. But even the guys working on it go back and they just shake their heads. It just didn't keep up with it. And now we've got, I haven't seen Discover. I haven't seen Picard. I'm probably going to break and buy it because I really want to see Discovery and I want to see Picard. And again, you got to look at television the way it is now. You can't do the original series or even Next Gen. You got to have TV as it is now. If you can find these two books really cheap on the eBays or anywhere. And if you're a geek like me and want to get more into Star Trek, the reason I'm talking so much is this is pretty much what I did on my break is I read the book and then I would go out and look at the Star Trek. For example, of the original series movies, Cory, which would you think is the weakest?
Oh, the first one by far.
Yeah. And I went, and again, what I did is I would read about the making of it behind the scenes, and then I would watch the movie. The one thing about Star Trek, the motion picture, is, again, no conflict between the characters. They did, and I remember seeing the movie in the theater and falling asleep during the special effects. They're slowly grinding their way through Voyager. And the only reason I woke up is because Channel 5 was there. Star Trek's back in the theater. Shh, quiet, I'm trying to nap here. I was like
here's
in the back
the
row.
other thing about Star Trek the Motion Picture. There were so many cool ideas that were thrown out, and nothing was done with them.
No. And the other thing, too...
Captain Decker, cool idea. Perseus Kambata, cool character. What happened with the Enterprise when Kirk wasn't in charge anymore? What was Kirk going through being back there? All of that. And this was back in the day when you'd get a novelization, and half the time we'd get the novelization a month before the movie would show up near where I lived. So I read this, and there was all this backstory that got shoved in the novelization. Then I go see the movie, and Decker just kind of is a wooden cutout that's standing there.
Yeah, there's a scene that they in the book, in the movie, and even I think in the graphic novel, where they allude to the Doomsday Machine, because Decker is the son of the captain in that show, the one that went nuts. And he says something, you'll find he makes some allusion to find that you're going to find that I follow orders better than my father. So obviously the truth came out that he went nuts or whatever, and that was kind of cool. It was a little Easter egg, but back then when they did filming like that, they didn't drop Easter eggs. One of the biggest complaints in the book, as I was reading this 50-year mission, is that they took out a lot of the personalization stuff, the little stuff. Some of it was campy, like when I can't say her name, Ilya, thank you. When she sat down in the navigation spot, they had Sulu just leering at her, and Decker had to go, Lieutenant, back to your station, or I don't even know what, if he was a lieutenant commander, whatever he was. I saw a lot of this in the missing scenes, because I actually have Star Trek the Motion Picture on the director cut.
Yes, the director's cut is much better.
And almost watchable, because they restore a lot of these scenes. And it was interesting after reading the behind-the-scenes stuff and where these people complained about it, and then going to see the director cut. I'm like, this is okay. Not Star Trek, because they didn't, everybody was so wooden, and, and the fun thing on the 50-year mission is it also talks about they were going to do a movie, which I didn't realize. They were going to jump into a movie, and then they cut it, and then they went to the Phase 2 TV show, and they cut it, and then Star Wars hit, and everything gelled together. So, but they had, whoever the director was, didn't know Star Trek, but he knew how to make a beautiful motion picture. He was kind of going for a 2001 effect. But I was able, drugged up late at night, I was able to sit through the motion picture. I did not fast forward through it. I watched everything, and then I watched all the cut scenes. So again, if you got the motion picture, the director cut, check it out. I read about the Wrath of Khan. While I do have I don't know if, I think it's a director cut, because they came out in the silver
that's
packaging.
The director's cut.
I didn't bother watching Wrath of Khan because I had just previously watched it a few months earlier. I did get into The Search for Spock. And again, a lot of different ideas. It's always interesting because the ones that didn't make it versus the ones that did. And I loved The Search for Spock. And for me, the big one was, I don't know if you remember the trailer, Cory, where there's a big explosion of the dish, and then you see the Enterprise come flying at you.
Yes.
And remember, this was the days of VCRs, no internet. I mean, I was sitting in the room, and I'm like, oh, yeah, Star Trek. And I was like, I was shocked to see the Enterprise fly. Because, you see it blow up, and you always think, oh, there's a way. And as it flew by and half the saucer's missing, I'm like, it's kind of like in wrestling, 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait a minute. The ref's going to call it, or something. You're waiting for the trick. What's the trick? My dad's in the other room watching it on his little black and white. And he goes, Joe? And I go, yeah. Did you see that? Yeah. Yes, we're seeing the movie. Yeah. And it was a big controversy to kill the Enterprise that way, too. But I watched that. And now here's where I got my first freaking of I'm going to drop it in here because as I'm reading on, okay, what the next one is Star Trek. Is it the Voyage Home? Yeah, that's the big one, right?
Yes.
The probably the best Star Trek out of all the movies that even non-Star Trek fans can like because they go back in time and they pick up the whales and blah blah. So I read all about it. Do you remember, Cory, who was supposed to be in that movie?
Wasn't it? No, I don't remember.
Eddie Murphy. He was supposed to
vaguely
be,
remember that. Yeah.
he was supposed to be the role of the whale biologist, and you better listen to him because he's a whale biologist. And Paramount was interested. Eddie Murphy was interested. Heads prevailed because they realized, hey, we got the Eddie Murphy franchise, we got the Star Trek franchise. Do we want to squash them together? I don't. And they talk about it just couldn't fall together. And then they developed the character. I can't remember the character's name. Hey, I'm a Star Trekkie. I'm a Trekkie. I'm a Trekkie, whatever. But I'm not like a trivialist. So, but that was kind of an interesting thing on that. Now I don't have the director's cut of some of these movies because I remember when I bought these were all like $5 at Best Buy, and I picked up every one I could, even Nemesis and Insurrection. But I did not. There's some of them I couldn't get. Now here's my freaking. A lot of those movies are not available for free anymore. That maybe on CBS Access. Maybe you could tell me if they're there, Cory, or not. But they're not on Netflix anymore. On Amazon, they're all paid for. I even had somebody else complain about that. He wanted to watch Voyage Home. He said they wanted $5 for me to watch it, or $10 to own it, or something. I'm like, no, it was just they were just all on Netflix. You can find all the other ones for free. Most of them. Star Trek 5, you could. I didn't watch Star Trek 5, by the way. And the Undiscovered Country was free, but the other ones, Nemesis or Generations, First Order, I was kind of surprised by that. And then when I stopped and think about it, well, this is the best of all the Star Trek movies in terms of gross and popularity and critical acclaim. I did not pay for it. Instead, I just jumped forward to, I read about the other movies and, the troubles that Shatner had making 5. A lot of it was because he spent so much money in the beginning that by the time they got to the end, they ran out of money. The studios were getting, we're going to make the same amount of money, so we're going to give you less. I think there was a writer's strike, blah, 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 whatever. We're not going to talk about it. I think I mentioned in the autobiography of Admiral or James T. Kirk, they say that Star Trek 5 was a movie of their exploits. It wasn't actually canon that it happened. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I thought that was kind of a neat trick of Star Trek. I did watch The Undiscovered Country. That was a good movie. I enjoyed it. It's probably the best Star Trek that they did in terms of everybody gelling and having fun. And I would love to see the pictures of Kim Cattrall on the captain's chair. That kind of disappeared, but
Kim Cattrall, she's a swell. Kim Cattrall.
So, and again, the 50-year mission's fun because all the actors come and they talk about it. The next movie I watched, because I have it on DVD, is First Contact. And, that was just a blazing fun movie anyways. Just, you bring back the Borg, you just bring the Borg Queen in. Just a blast. I did not watch Insurrection. I did not watch Nemesis. I had watched Nemesis a couple of years ago, and while it's a good Star Trek movie, the problem was they wanted to kind of throttle back, and instead of having a big adventure type Borg movie, we want to do more Star Trek stuff. Well, that's not what people wanted, and I think that led a lot to Star Trek fatigue, and eventually, Star Trek kind of ending. And so while I read it in the first 25 years, the next 25 years tells it from the TV, and I'm just getting into where they're talking about the Enterprise. And I'll probably start watching Enterprise because, again, I didn't watch it, but they're already starting in, where we've got the crew that were working. They spent like $13 million on the pilot, and then by the second episode, they're back to Star Trek. It's got to be standalone. It's got to be no conflict. It's got to be this. And they're like, why? We're pre-Starfleet. There should be conflict. These are Goombas going out in outer space in a tin can. The lady who played Harisha, the linguist, she's panicky about going in outer space. They're all wearing tennis shoes. There's no prime directive yet, but it's still Star Trek. And that's why I think I will probably, I can't wait to get to Discovery, because that's the way TV is now. And I think part of the reason that Enterprise did as bad as it did was because they were still trying to, and again, this was Rick Bergman again, because he's in charge. They're trying to do Star Trek the way Roddenberry wanted Star Trek. Well, dude, that's a 60s television program. They were doing this into the 90s. And even UPN didn't really want it as a flagship of their network. It was spearheaded by the previous guy, and the new guy come in, didn't like Star Trek, didn't understand it, but they're like, it had such a name. Even the choice to just call it Enterprise instead of Star Trek Enterprise. I just finished a part about it where they said, yeah, we had this song, we had this beautiful montage, and we put this crappy song on it from Robin Williams, Patch Adams, instead of using U2's version, because we couldn't afford the rights to it. And, people were opening it up and they're like, this is not Star Trek from the very first moment it starts. And who knows? Like I said, I haven't even gotten to the first episode yet. So anyways, much as you think that's all I did, and this podcast here is talking about Star Trek and how good it was, how bad it was, how it could have been. And of course that all ties back to Deep Space Nine, because when I saw the What We Left Behind, looking back at Star Trek DS9, it was a fun romp, because they were talking back. The one thing about buying it on Amazon, which kind of disheartened me, is they have a whole separate show about making Trouble with Tribbles. And if you buy the DVD, you will get that. It's not available anywhere on Amazon, which really pisses me off, because I only spent $5 to keep it, but I'd like to see that. And so I'll keep my eyes open. Maybe I can find a disc of it somewhere on the eBays. I think they're running like $25 or something. But so yeah, that was kind of a fun Star Trek thing. I like Star Trek, but I did do other things. Did you see, Cory, on Netflix? There's a show called The Witcher.
Why, yes, and I think it is a terrible adaptation of the video game, Joe.
I've heard that.
Why? I started watching it. Where's the 10-minute sequence where you're trying to climb the wall and you can't figure out how to get the controller to do it right, so you climb up 3 steps and then fall? Or how about where you try to jump across something and you don't have the timing right and you die 15 times? Or you've got this quest and you get lost and you wander around looking for some sort of clue as to where you're supposed to be going for 45 minutes. Nowhere in the TV show.
These are the jokes, people. Welcome to 2020. No, I've actually, and the thing is, I went into this not knowing what it was. I didn't know. I mean, I've seen the graphic novel. It's actually on sale at Barnes & Noble. And I didn't realize it was a graphic novel. My daughter's boyfriend knew it was a game because he's playing it. I went into it totally oblivious. And I've been enjoying the living bejesus out of it. Henry Cavill would be a good Batman, too. But
he can play Batman and Superman.
Why not? And, it's kind of interesting because I have the same problem. I call it the Wildstorm problem. Or I guess I could blame Liefeld. You have these group of people and a lot of names and a lot of people, and I go nuts trying to figure out who they are, where they are, and some of these episodes are intense. Some of them are very depressing. Other ones are just amazing. And we're only up to episode 6. Chris and I are wading through this, and I kind of had to, scold her a little bit because she gets an episode that like is really too intense. And what we do is afterwards we'll watch something. In this case, we're rewatching Cheers. We started with number 1, and we'll watch like 2 or 3 or 5 episodes, depending on how much time we have. If it's a weekend, weekday, whatever. So we'll watch The Witcher, and then, but then she got to the point where she didn't want to watch it anymore. And I'm like, well, let's finish it. There's so many shows that she rips through and watches, and then I'd like to watch that with you, but it's just fun to do a show with someone and then talk about it afterwards, especially since neither of us know what's going on. And we have some theories of what's going on, and we'll find out, I guess, because the first season's only 8 episodes, and like I think we're up to, we just watched episode 6. And I'm not going to talk much about it. I do like the series. I would recommend it to anybody. And I guess until I get to episode 8, that's really all I'm going to say about that. I did finish up Movies That Made Us and Toys That Made Us. Your guys are geeks. I got to be, if you're listening to this here podcast, I recommend watching these two because you'll get the movies, there's only 4 episodes at the moment. Toys That Made Us is great because a lot of these toys were made while I had the comic shop or while I was growing up. And you look at some of the vintage toys and just the guys that make them, and it's amazing. I guess it's who's the guy who said if you like meat and you like law, don't watch how either of them are made.
Yes. And
I think it's the same thing with Star Trek and toys and movies, because we look at Ghostbusters or Home Alone or G.I. Joe or Star Trek and go, oh man, that was great. What a brilliant idea. Yeah, well, when you're making it, there's a lot of crap that goes through it to get to the final end. And, but I love the behind the scenes stuff. It doesn't take away from me enjoying other things. I did spend a lot of time falling down the YouTube vortex, where you just slap on YouTube and go from one video to the next. I spent a lot of days looking at Robin Williams videos and his stand-up and Best of Mork and Mindy and his appearance on Happy Days. And then I ran into, some Jonathan Winters stuff, who is, as you know, Robin Williams' idol. And Jonathan Winters was, oh man, I watched his stuff on Dean Martin, and they were said basically Dean Martin was given, okay, this is going to be, you're on a plane and he's going to sit next to you and be an unruly passenger. Here are 5 questions to ask him if you get a chance. He barely got a chance because Jonathan Winters would come in and just go, and Dean Martin was trying to play it straight as an annoyed passenger. And by the end of the skit, he was laughing so hard, he just couldn't hold it anymore. And it was just insane. Again, these are fun videos. And I watched a lot of other stuff. I mean, I've talked before about Craig Ferguson, just watching him flirt, or the openings of his show, or Sid the Swearing Rabbit. We've got to get Sid on the show somehow. I've got feelers out for that. He would be a fantastic. I mean, we don't have the crickets anymore. We might as well see if Sid's available. Well, he might be too expensive though. Some of those rabbits get attitudes. Anyways,
I was thinking we just have Bun Bun.
He doesn't swear too much, and all he wants to do is beg for bread or goldfish. He's getting snotty now. He won't even eat. I got him like these holiday-shaped cheddar goldfish. He wouldn't even eat them. Fortunately, I am, but that's a different subject. Are you aware, Cory, of the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor?
Why, yes, I am. Who won it this year?
I would have to look. Because I had it Googled up here a minute ago. Let me wake up the Kray 4000.
The Kraytron 4000.
Mark Twain.
Year 4000.
And survey says, dun, 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 dun. Dave Chappelle.
Oh.
Yeah. I have not. Now, what happens is it's all PBS. And usually during Pledge Break, they roll out the Mark Twain Prize and they show everything. And of course, if you go to pbs.org / or I think it's pbs.org show Mark Twain Prize. I don't know if they're all there or if they just show oh yeah, I guess they do have the full episodes there. So you could go and check it out. I when I see them on, we've got like 5 or 6 PBS stations that I can grab. A lot of them are local, some of them are refeeds, some of them are like from St. Cloud. So when I see them available, I'll grab them. And I did watch 3 of them that I happened to run into. I caught the 2018 was Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who, again, an actress I am in love with. Just, she's smart, she's beautiful, she's funny, married, of course, but, you know, hey, it's 2020 already, it don't matter. What do they call that list on Friends? Like if you saw someone that she was on your list, you're allowed to have sex with them or something?
Oh, they actually had a movie about that. I think it's called a Hall Pass.
Hall Pass, yes, because they had that on. I remember that on Friends because he ran into
Didn't Chandler get stuck in a ATM with the model?
I just remember David Schwimmer's character ran into someone and just said, you know, you were on my Hall Pass list, and I just took you off. And the actress looked at her and go, what a shame. I did the same to you, and walked away. Anyways, so I watched that. I watched the Eddie Murphy one from 2015, which was really funny because Eddie Murphy is just amazing. I did watch his Saturday Night Live comeback. I did catch that on DVD or DVR. So, and that was a fun bit too. Eddie Murphy did kind of break into a little bit Bill Cosby. What do you mean I gotta give my prize back? Because, you know, well, they don't talk about Bill Cosby. He won it too, you know. And then just recently they reran the Bill Murray one from 2016, which was interesting because I think Bill was trying to be serious in certain spots. And I think the audience gets nervous when Bill Murray's serious because you're not ready for it. You know, he's just talking about the outpouring of love and being with people and stuff. Part of the fun on these Mark Twain prizes are just the guests that show up and are with them. And it's a brilliant thing. If you want to check it out, like I said, if it looks like full episodes, I imagine they're on the YouTubes as well, but you can go to PBS and check it out. I've whipped through a lot of documentaries. Again, I have Nova, Nature, all these shows recording, and you know, Lord knows there's enough on the YouTubes and Amazon and Hulu and Netflix. The last one I watched was about the ice planets because we just had some probes go flying by, and these are probes that were launched like decades ago. And the shows, I don't know how when they came out, if they're like brand new ones. But,
yeah, it was last summer they did the planets.
Okay, so and this is stuff they flew by 2016, and now we're finally getting the full data. And you know, the 3 planets in question, of course, were Uranus. They flew by Uranus, Cory. And the amazing thing on that is that it's so tilted on its axis that what sunlight hits it doesn't churn up the gases, doesn't make those storms like we see on Saturn and Jupiter, and consequently none of the methane and whatever is in the atmosphere moves, and it's the closest anything in the solar system is to absolute zero because of the way the planet is. And they're theorized why it's on its axis so weird, because what's interesting is it surprised the living heck out of everybody who saw the data. And then they also come up, well, here's what we think, but we really don't know. They flew by Neptune. And then, of course, the big one, and I think we even joked about it on the podcast, Pluto. And, you know, the big thing on Pluto was they talked about, here's this big area that actually looks like Pluto from Disney. It's actually a sea of frozen ice, and they don't understand Why? Because the rest of the planet's pocked like you would expect the moon. But what made this area of sea, and why is it the way it is? And they're thinking there's got to be some heat inside that's pushing water and that up and cracking the ice, and then it reforms because it's so cold. And just a fascinating show. And we've talked about just our DVRs are full. I've got so many documentaries on my thing. It was just fun to go through them. I cleared off all the Whose Line Is It Anyways that's recording, because now during the off season, new episodes are popping up and the reruns of the old. I did rewatch the CW Crisis shows, because the resolution, I guess, where are we? Today's the 12th. You guys will, by the time you hear this, it'll be over. And so I had to make sure to get that going, because we've been waiting a few weeks for that. And that's so much fun. If you can see them, Cory, I think you can do the CW app and see it all for free. It's just a blast. You'll have a fun time, even though you may not. You'll get the characters just because we know the characters from the DC comics, and the cameos are just amazing. And they haven't even finished yet. There's certain cameos that we've talked about or that we've heard that haven't been done, but I'm sure I'll be geeking on this next week because of, like I said, it's just going to hit. So, and that's it. Like I said, a lot of time. My days have been kind of goofy because my sleep cycle's really effed up from the drugs. I'm taking gabapentin, which I guess is something they give to everybody for everything. And I take it for pain, but then you're reading it. It may cause suicidal thoughts. It may cause you to blow up volcanoes. It may cause you to vote for weird things. I'm like, but I just want it for pain. Oh, man, that's scary stuff. But I think for me, what's killing me is like I'll get, midnight will hit, Chris will go to sleep, and I'm wide awake.
And the darkness comes, and Joe cannot resist the siren call of YouTube.
Or one of those documentaries, and what'll happen is I'll fall asleep for about an hour, and then I'll wake up again, wide awake. And usually I just sit there and do my tricks, like, okay, I'm going to script a comic book, or I'm going to, here's my season of Fantastic Four or Star Trek. And I've talked about, and I hope I'm not, because it smacks of fan fiction, how I would write the Picard show. But it didn't work. I'd get up, take a big glass of water. And last night I was up till 5 o'clock. Actually, at 3 o'clock, I just gave up. I just cranked that book out I was talking about, the first 15 minutes.
No.
Read for 2 hours, and then at 5 o'clock, fell asleep, woke up at noon. So, it's, I don't actually, well, like I said, I don't actually go back to work until the second week in February, so I've got to get my sleep cycle somehow back. But I got time. What the heck? There's always more to watch.
Well, let's talk about comics.
I did read one comic.
A whole comic book?
I know. When I pulled it out of my box day, I was like, okay, I got to read this because I'm so excited to see what happened. And Doomsday Clock number 12.
Oh, yes. I have not read that. You told me I should read it, but we'll get into that.
You're not buying it, are you? Or are you waiting till the graphic novel?
I was waiting for the graphic novel, but I could pick it up digitally. But it's like, oh, well, I'm not home, and yeah, we'll get into that.
Well, I was just excited because this was supposed to be the one that changed everything, that was supposed to reveal things in the DC universe. And this thing came out, Christmas?
Yeah.
So it's like a month away, so I guess I'm not giving away much if I do say something.
Well, none of it matters.
Okay, yeah. That's, I was going to get to that, but you see, I was so excited because they're reading basically what Dr. Manhattan discovers is no matter what happens, there's always going to be a crisis. There's always going to be a rejiggering because Superman is such a key component of the multiverse. Things will rechange. Yeah, he was rocketed as a baby in 1938, and he lifted a car. Well, Dr. Manhattan removed the car. and made a new reality. And, you know, these are the realities we think about after Earth 1, Earth 2, John Byrne's Superman, the New 52, the Rebirth. No matter what happens, it's always going to change because Superman's going to be a constant. I did see that AT&T Time Warner stock did go up after this issue. So obviously people who are really worried about Superman, you don't have to be. But what got me excited was they go, okay, it's January 2026. The timeline's restored. And there's another crisis that's going to happen where Superman goes off to find Bruce Wayne's lost daughter so she can save Bruce's son. On July 10th, 2030, the secret crisis begins, throwing Superman into a brawl across the universe with Thor himself and a green behemoth stronger than even Doomsday, who dies protecting Superman from these invaders. Dude, I just had a geekgasm in my pants. They're talking about a fight between Marvel DC, and I was like, and I was so excited. They brought back Superman's parents. They threw some characters in the universe. What did they call the? There's an Earth that went beyond Earth 85, which no one has explored. That's the post-crisis universe that still exists. That has nothing to do with Wonder Woman and John Byrne and all those reboots and things like that. The Justice Society is back. Oh man, it was just so much fun. And I went and I checked out, okay, I got to see some of the Easter eggs I missed. And what's the first thing I read? Yeah, Jeff Johns isn't in charge anymore. If we did this today, it wouldn't count. It would have been a Black Label book. And wow, way to kill a buzz, guys.
Well, and not only that, this is the wrap-up. Basically, Doomsday Clock was the wrap-up to what he started back in Rebirth.
Yeah, and it was
and because they've said, well, that's not continuity anymore, it kind of means that Rebirth, okay, that story, never mind.
Yeah, and you wonder why DC graphic novels suck.
Well, shall I give a little behind-the-scenes stuff about that?
The graphic novels?
I have some behind-the-scenes stuff about the DC graphic novels.
Oh, I didn't know if you had any more on Doomsday Clock, because like I said, that was kind of I was so hyped to read this. I didn't even look to see if my order was correct. I just sat down and read it, and I was like, oh, and then I go online, I'm like, really? Oh,
One of my friends posted that he was very excited about, it's the 85th anniversary of More Fun #1. And he's really excited about that hardcover coming out. And I, of course, make the snarky remark, unless Dan DiDio cancels it at the last minute. The person in charge of DC Collected said, no, it's at the printer. The files have been sent. This one won't get canceled. And I actually spoke with this person a little bit about how depressing it is that we pre-order the stuff when it's in previews, and then it doesn't come out and it becomes an accounting mess. And she talked about how the entire, what she's in charge of is so mad about the fact that they're doing no publicity for these books. None.
Yeah, you're talking they like wonder no why, house ads, no nothing. Just here it is in previews, no posters.
Well, not even that. They don't send press releases to Newsarama and Comic Book Resources and blah, blah, blah. And they don't have people doing podcasts like they do for the regular books. And it's almost like for the trade paperbacks now, the way she put it was they just solicit it and hope.
Ugh.
They don't do any publicity. They don't do any push. They put it in the trade magazines for booksellers. And the booksellers are also saying, wait a minute, why would we order this stuff if you're going to cancel it a month after we order it?
Yeah, do you think they're not going to notice it? I mean, they're committing dollars to this. And just like we've bitched about when the omnibus. I did notice the John Byrne omnibus got canceled.
Yeah.
I really wanted it, but I thought, I'm not going to.
And then, I won't get too deep in the woods on this, but one of the things that DC and Marvel both, they really want what are known as evergreens. Evergreens are how you make your money. They're the books that sell over time. They sell and they sell and they sell and they sell and they sell. Like when you go to the bookstore, there's always going to be Catch-22 on the shelf. There's always going to be the Little House on the Prairie books on the shelf. There's always going to be the Harry Potter books on the shelf. They sell over time. DC now looks at the DC editorial looks at this stuff the same way they look at periodicals. Whereas the people in the collected edition are like, dude, our job is to find evergreens. Sandman didn't sell for crap for the first 20 or so issues. So, but I do have a list, Joe. We'll go over this list, and because it's been an hour, and I really want to get to this list. These are the top-selling comic books and graphic novels through previews of last year.
Okay, because we've even talked about how these aren't the best-selling ones, because a lot of the best-selling ones aren't even in previews.
Well, they're in previews, but comic shops don't order them.
Yeah, which is stupid.
I will note that the latest Dogman book had a 5 million print run.
You know, and I can't. Well, okay, I don't want to go too deep in this either, but I mean, if I had a hot comic store, and again, that was like a 3,000 square foot store, maybe not Crazy Comics, I would get one copy, maybe two. Put it in the kids section, like we talk about Archies and all that other stuff. You know, kids going to come in eventually with their folks and go, I want this, you know. But you don't have to go crazy on it. Just, have it there.
Anyways, here are the 10 best-selling comics.
Hang on, let's see if I can do a drum roll.
Number 10, War of Realms, number 1 by Marvel. Number 9, Powers of X from Marvel. Number 8, House of X from Marvel. So the X-Men reboot, really doing well, by the way. I followed the numbers, and Marvel has to be excited. These are the best the X-Men books have sold in at least 15 years. Number 7.
What I found interesting, from a geek standpoint, there's a crossover coming up where the Avengers and Fantastic Four are fighting the Kree and Skrull.
Yes.
The X-Men aren't part of that.
No, because Fantastic Four and the X-Men are going to be fighting over who gets Franklin Richards.
I just thought that was interesting, like, you know, because now you've got this whole mutant nation. They may not feel compelled to fight human battles. Yeah. Anyways, I just love little things like that. But anyways, continue with the list.
Number 7, Marvel Comics 1000. Number 6, this one actually really surprised me, Absolute Carnage, number 1. Number 5, Deceased, number 1. So DC doing a zombie book. One of the best-selling books of the year. This one really blew me away. Black Cat, number 1. I was amazed that Black Cat, number 1, was this high. Number 3, X-Men, number 1. Number 2, Spawn, number 300. And the number 1 book, Joe, what do you think it was?
Was it an X-Men book?
Nope.
My brain's blank.
Detective Comics 1000.
Oh, I should have guessed. I forgot.
So, Marvel had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the top 10. DC had 2 and Image had 1.
And a couple of them, like Spawn and Detective, they're what would you call those? Anniversary type books with multiple
they're big
covers.
Anniversary books.
Yeah. Which was interesting because when we were doing our was it Black Friday runabout, we went down to the Jordan. He was blowing out the last multi book that DC had done. Was it action?
Blowing out a lot. Well, action and detective.
Yeah, so you could, I know a lot of people are buying these, and I'm trying to pick the cover I want. But and I was really tempted. I was like, I should just pick these up. These are fun. They're fun covers. But he was doing 75% off or something.
Yeah.
He still might be doing it. I don't know. Give him a call. But yeah.
Well, and here are the top 10 selling graphic novels in comic shops.
Okay.
Number 10 is Batman Damned, the hardcover.
Hey, oh yeah, no wee, the non-wee version, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Number 9, the new version of Batman the Killing Joke, hardcover.
Good perennial.
Number 8, The Walking Dead, number 31.
Still going strong.
The last volume.
So I should expect Compendium 4 sometime, and then I'll have my run.
I am going to be interested as how well these books do now that the regular comic's not coming out anymore. Number 7, Batman White Knight trade paperback, which is probably why they're letting that artist do all kinds of Batman books. Number 6, Die number 1 from Image. Joe, you know what Die is, right?
I actually have it in my to-be-read pile because I'm buying them as issues where the guys playing the game disappear, and when they come back years later, there's a mystery as to what happened. Die referring to like dice and D&D.
But also that they may die.
Oh.
Number 5 was the Mr. Miracle trade paperback. Number 4, Monstrous number 1, which has actually been out for a couple of years now.
Yeah, brilliant series. I've geeked about it before. I'm buying this in Graphic Zombie. I was going to say Graphic Zombie, but I am buying it at a Graphic Zombie buyer because it's the art is so awesome and it reads much better serialized because it's, and again, another story like I was complaining about Witcher where names will be dropped and then it's like, wait, I should know that name, but I don't. A little dense when it comes to names, right, Jim?
Sure thing, Bob. Number 3, Umbrella Academy Volume 1.
Which was amazing because it was out of print for so long. I was actually scrambling. People were contacting me. Hey, can you find me a copy of this? And I was able to help them out. But number 1, I just said, you're not going to find it at Barnes & Noble, but call your local comic stores. We've got like 11 or 12 in town. Somebody's bound to have it.
It shows the power of that Netflix series.
I even found a few of them at like half-price books. So, yeah, they're around. And now, of course, I think they're out. So,
number 2, Saga Volume 1. Again, that book's been out for 5-6 years. And then the number 1 selling graphic novel of 2019, Watchmen.
I've heard good things and bad things about the series.
People who I respect said it's amazing. So I will be watching it when I get time.
What platform is it on?
HBO.
See, I don't have HBO. Oh, well, I can wait.
It's not TV, Joe. It's HBO.
I don't care what it is. I don't have it. That's why I've never watched Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but will you get the HBO Plus thing that starts this year? Or NBC's Peacock, which starts this year? Or... yeah, on and on and on and on.
Probably not. Like I said, I'm dying to see Star Trek, but I'll kind of get into it when we talk about freaking. But I think we're at the limit because I've got so much I haven't watched on the big 3 I got: Amazon, Hulu, Netflix. And the only reason we got that is because, my wife and I do one, my daughters do the other 2. And I think Amazon Prime is just because the girls buy so much crap from Amazon. So,
well, you know what you should be doing, Joe.
I think we should take care of our sponsors, like these guys.
Normally in this space we have advertising, but for the rest of the year, in the spirit of giving, instead we're giving our advertising time over to fundraisers to help people who are in need. And the best place to help comic book creators who are in need is theheroinitiative.org. The Hero Initiative raises money and helps creators with medical issues, finding work, fighting homelessness. These are comic creators who may be switching careers, may have fallen on hard times, or they may have worked in the business for a long time. And as you know, comic book companies, everything there is You're paid by the page. It's not a salary. It's not benefited. It's not with a retirement. So this is how we can help the creators who've made our lives better by their work. Head on over to theheroinitiative.org in order to donate or buy items. Artist Tom Lyle, who drew tons of comics over the years, including a run on Spider-Man during the Spider-Clone saga, helped create the Tim Drake Robin, passed away recently, leaving his spouse with medical bills. You can donate by going to GoFundMe.com and looking up Tom-Lyle to donate to help pay off those medical bills from his hospital stay. If you are a wrestling fan, you know who ODB is. ODB is a Minnesota gal who got out of wrestling and got into the food truck business. One morning she woke up and her food truck had burned to the ground. She is running a fundraiser at Indiegogo, so go to Indiegogo.com, put in Help ODB Get Cooking Again, and you can purchase her wonderful sauces, autographed pictures. All funds go toward helping her buy a new food truck so she can start her business again. These are people who need your help. If you know someone who needs help or has a fundraiser, please let us know by sending an email to solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com, subject advertising. And after the first of the year, when we get back to regular ads, you can buy an ad too. Again, it's solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com, subject advertising. Thanks. Wow.
I learned something in these last 9+ years.
Well, it's about time. Yeah, we're coming up on our 10th year.
I know.
Should we do something special for it?
No.
Okay. I do all kinds of special things, like tons and tons of podcasts like these. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network has all sorts of podcasts for you. There's, of course, Crazy Comics and Stories, where myself and Crazy Joe Ryder get together once a week to talk comics. We review comics, we talk about upcoming comics, we talk about comics history. Anything that has to do with comics, we're going to talk about. We also have Series in Review, where we review series and kind of give a DVD commentary of past comics that we've enjoyed. There is also Solitaire Rose Radio. Solitaire Rose Radio is my solo show where I discuss upcoming comics, past comics, comics history, and interview comics creators. These are all at crazycomics.solitairerose.com. There's also the podcast I'm proudest of. That's Novelcast, where I take the novels that I have written and turn them into audiobooks. That's at novels.solitairerose.com. Over at Bad Advice, myself, Dan Moore, and Wolfie B. Bad take your questions and give you bad advice. It's at badadvice.solitairerose.com. Now, don't think that I'm doing all the podcasts, because there's also Scrabbling Across the West by Dave Coffell and Stephanie Coffell. Dave is a musician and Stephanie is his wife. They travel the country performing music and playing Scrabble over at scrabbling.solitairerose.com. And finally, the newest member of the Solitaire Rose Radio group, that's Fantastic Forecast, where myself and host of For the Love of Comics, Adam Vermillion, go over the series The Fantastic Four, 4 issues at a time. That's available at fantasticforecast.solitairerose.com. If you would like to advertise on any of these podcasts, you can. Just email me at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. Thanks. And Joe does special stuff too.
Yeah, I've been able to crank up the eBays, which I was very happy to do, because last time I had to shut it down for a month and I lost a lot of momentum. Now it's up and going. I've been adding things at a pretty good pace. I started off with a big flash sale where I half-priced a ton of stuff, not only my high-end stuff, but my low-end stuff. I posted it on the weird thing was I did it right after.
Half price.
Half price. No gold. But we also, I should say, I posted it on our Facebook page because we had just recorded the Star Wars show that Yumi and Turbo did. And then I was like, you know what? Let's just clear out some stuff. And it was pretty good. Of course, you as listeners can go to the eBay store, Crazy, And send me a quick note. Tell me you watched the show. If you, what's interesting about how the eBays work, and I think I've touched on this before, but you could come to me and say, okay, well, there's Star Blazer 21.99 Volume 2 Blu-ray Limited Edition, 195 out of 2,000, still sealed, but I got the lowest price on the eBays, but you want to go a little lower? Send me a quick note saying, hey, you can either make an offer. Well, actually, I don't have make an offer down because people are like, I'll give you $2 for it. And I go, yeah, I oughta. But I never. So, but just send me a note or saying, hey, I listened to the show. I'd be interested in this. And I can send you an offer back. And it's always with free shipping. And then I always like to throw in a little extra thing because, like I said, I got tons of stuff. And much as I'd like to say I'm trying to get rid of it, I keep buying more and more stuff. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. Krayz. And if it ain't there, if something you're interested in disappeared, that means that somebody bought it. So don't waste no time because, well, we'll talk about it in a little bit. Some of the, so actually, I'll mention it now because it's not really a geeking. But Cory, you remember Dynamite magazine? Were you part of that fun crowd in the 70s?
I didn't buy a lot of Dynamite magazine. However, I did buy Pizzazz.
Oh, the Marvel version of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Dynamite. Now, kids, this is how Cory and I got our information as to what is going on in the freaking world. Scholastic had these magazines, and I forget the name of the magazine for the preschoolers, but they also had ones for like high school called Bananas. But the kid one and the big one was Dynamite, and we've talked about it before. That was like my first exposure to Spider-Man. My old partner, Pat, who, by the way, is doing really great from the kidney surgery. It was removed. It didn't spread. It took him a while to get his blood pressure down and the pain meds accurate because I guess that's kind of painful. You know, you're taking a part of your body's got tons of nerves in it. And maybe somebody out there can answer, what the hell takes its place? You just removed an entire kidney. What the? Oh, well. But like I said, I'm meeting Pat next week. I'll see if he's got anything upgrade. But Dynamite would come out monthly, and it was kind of like a kid's version of what's popular. Like, you know, I'm just picking up one. Here's Dukes of Hazzard was big. And then inside, who else were they talking about? Well, they talked to like John Denver. Or they might have, hey, here, kids, inside of Disney World. Or Attention MASH. I remember this one because that's when Henry Morgan and Mike Farrell came out, replacing the two that left. Here's Mork and Mindy, Close and Closet 3 Times, Bay City Rollers, Kate Perry, Darth Vader, Linda Ronstadt, Beatles. So that was kind of like the big thing. All these things you're getting exposed to because we didn't have the interwebs and constant feeds on Facebook. Now, what's neat, Pat being the, I got to buy it in good shape. He never took out the stickers. He didn't fill out the puzzles. He didn't even remove the subscription cards. Everything that these issues originally came with is there. And he bought quite a few of them. I mention this because if you are a Dynamite fan and you're looking for a specific issue, just send me a note. And I'll let you know if it's in his subscription. I'm looking at this one now, the Dukes of Hazzard one. And there's a animation wheel that's part of it. And it has gift tags and a space fold-out. I even complimented Pat on that. I said, you know, some of these issues I see people, they're selling and they're without their inserts and stuff. And I've got them with everything. And they're not terribly crazy. They all run about $15 to $20. But if it's something you're interested in, trying to get a little bit of your childhood back. By the way, there are a few that I just kept for myself, like the Land of the Lost issue. I think that was let's see, that was the July issue for 1975. That's mine. No one have it. All mine. So, and I don't have the number one. I would love a number one. That was like the holy grail to me when I was collecting these, because every so often they'd have pages where you can buy back issues, and I'd beg my folks, please. And then, of course, when the summer months would come and you couldn't turn in the Scholastic form to school and get the issue, you'd be like, oh, I gotta buy these 3 issues over summer, please. And my folks were cool; they did it. And, I mean, they were really cool with encouraging reading, which was amazing. I mean, I don't know if my brother and sister did it, but I got that Scholastic form, and I would just order stuff, and I did it into high school, and then eventually it just kind of fizzled out. So, but yeah, it's kind of fun going through all this stuff. And I told Pat, I said, tell you what, for every one of these I sell, I buy you pizza. But he's got to go gluten-free now, so it'd be a little tricky, but we'll take care of it. Have I babbled enough?
And now we get to my favorite part of the show.
Oh, take a drink.
No, not where I spike my hot chocolate with a bunch of brandy to the point where there's no hot chocolate left in the glass full of brandy. No, it's freaking and geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on?
Of all the fun I'm having with Hipwatch 2 Electric Boogaloo, I have noticed my eyesight has changed. And do you remember what happened the last time my eyesight changed?
That was your diabetes, wasn't it?
Yep. And because I'm not as mobile and the meds and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's great to watch TV without my glasses on, but that just means I got to do something. So as soon as I get mobile, and in a couple of weeks, I do go back to see my doctor. And if he gives me the okay, I'll probably hit the old treadmill and go to the gym. I've actually done some powerlifting. You know, I forget the machine where you sit back and you press leg presses and that.
Oh yeah, leg press. That's not powerlifting.
Well, when you got a leg that's half hip, it's power. Trust me. I mean, I was like, I'm going like, okay, so you got on 25. This is easy. Okay, 55. Yeah, it's easy. 85. Oh my God, that hurts. So, but they won't okay me to just go to the gym because my hip is going to be healing all the way through December of next year. It'll take a full year to be 100% healed, which is ironic because my last one healed as I got my second one. But I'll hear more about that next week, and then hopefully I can at least get on the treadmill, try to get my diabetes back under control. Cory, do you watch MASH?
Why, yes, I do.
Do you have it on DVD?
Yes, I do. Because I want to watch it without the B story being cut out for more commercials.
And do you know why that's the only way now to watch it?
Why is that?
Because it's being pulled from syndication.
Oh, really?
Over and over. I'm on a MASH group on Facebook, and people are complaining that all of a sudden they can't watch MASH. It was taken away from Netflix a while back. This might tie into what I was geeking about before I had my hip done, where revival houses are discovering that certain Fox films are no longer available. If you wanted to do Aliens, you can't do it. Disney's not allowing it. And I wonder if this is part of the retrenching that Disney is doing, where they got all these Fox properties and they're just slowly pulling them back. And that's fine if you pull them back, but they're not on your fucking service. They're not even on Hulu. I don't understand why Disney's doing this. I think they're so flush with their Star Wars and their Frozen. And oh, by the way, I watched Frozen first. I've never seen Frozen before, but I did watch it. I got Disney. Sometimes I forget I have Disney Plus. I might as well just watch this stuff. And so I told my wife, I said, we may have made a mistake selling our X-Files DVDs because sooner or later they'll disappear. I have no idea if they're going to show up on Disney. Maybe Disney's working on another platform. This is Fox.
Well, that's what Hulu is.
But it's not there.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
The thing is, what Disney is probably doing is, all right, we've got all these contracts that Fox put out there. We're going to let them expire. And then, okay, here's the new deal. Because imagine, it's one of the things that corporations do. You know, it's like when AOL bought Time Warner. And the reason I know this is because WCW was a big part of this. AOL went through and said, okay, this is making money, this isn't, this isn't. What contracts can we cancel? What ones do we need to let expire? So when they said, all right, WCW, according to our records, is losing money. Fine. Sell it off. Get rid of it. Whatever. The deal for WCW fell through because they didn't have TV. Vince McMahon was able to come in, swoop it up for $5 million. He got all of WCW. But remember when Flair, Hogan, Hall, Nash, Goldberg couldn't come to WWE? Was it E at the time? Couldn't come to WWE.
It was E, yeah.
Because their contracts weren't with WCW, they were with Time Warner.
I think the only one that did was Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah, Diamond Dallas Page broke his contract because he thought that he could, it's like, oh, I'm going to be the only one there. I'll be red hot. Of course, Undertaker buried him, so yeah. But I imagine what's happening is Disney is saying, okay, as these contracts expire, we're just going to wait, figure out what we're doing before we start issuing new contracts. And their plan, from what they've said, is, and Dan talked about it a little when he was on for Festivus, you can buy a bundle. You get Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. Disney Plus won't have anything over PG-13. Hulu is where their stuff that isn't appropriate for Disney Plus is going to be. And ESPN, of course, will be all the sports. But that's the setup that they are, basically, that they're advertising. That, okay, Disney's for the kids, Hulu's for the adults. And I imagine MASH will end up on Hulu once they're able to clear, all right, there's no other streaming company that has rights to this, so we can put it on our own.
So the bottom line, folks, don't trust the streamers. Keep the DVDs.
Yep.
Keep
your digital keep your physical media.
Yep. I am waiting, and this is a future freaking, because sooner or later that Star Trek's going to be taken off Netflix and be on CBS Access.
Yep.
And I probably shouldn't say this because every time we say something, it gets stolen from us. Do we get any feedback from it? No. But that'll probably be the day I get CBS Access. And it'll be fun, too, because I'll just geek out on everything. And also one note that's kind of a kick in the groin for 2020, and I've had enough already of you 2020. My cousin, Daniel Paulnell, passed away. And much like our old pal Nick Post did, we always wanted to get him on the show because he's a professional puppeteer. I know him, of course, growing up. He was such a big influence in my life. I mean, basically, I was a sequestered white boy in the middle of white land growing up. And going over to his house was like stepping into a magical portal. He had so many things going on. He introduced me to Jethro Tull, Pink Floyd, Frank Zappa, crazy songs and stuff like Tales of the Giant Stone Eater, which you can go check out on the YouTubes. I remember him calling me saying, you got to check this show out. It's like right before Hogan's Heroes on Channel 5 called Doctor Who. I said, it's like, just check it out. And it was like the fourth Doctor that started me. He took me to a Grateful Dead concert. I wasn't a Grateful Dead fan, and I do believe I got contact high, but that's a different subject. So many things, and as everything later in life, you float by each other. I mean, even the day before he passed away, we were exchanging stupid videos towards each other. I don't know if I can find the one he sent me. I sent him one, and I don't even know. You remember, Cory, this song, What's the Matter You? Hey, why you look so sad? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. All I know is we were at a pizza place somewhere in uptown area, and as a joke, we kept playing that song over and over and over to the point where the guy just pulled the plug on it. And it was, I stopped doing it, at least I think I did, and other people were doing it. And, you hear it end and it would start again. And oh, God. He had posted one on my Facebook page. And, I'm kind of a Facebook idiot because if I'm interested, I post it. I mean, who can't be also interested in Jack and Coke popsicles, the official drunk snack of this summer? No, haven't found it. Getting close. much as I love Facebook, it's just almost impossible. Oh, there's duct tape, the DuckTales parody. Never mind. I'll mention it later. As sad as I was of all the opportunities that'll never be, that I'll never see him again, the outpouring on his Facebook page is just amazing. He touched so many people with his performance. I know in our family he was always considered kind of the black sheep because he didn't go to school and he didn't, he would be in a studio and he'd make, I can't even say her name, Ali Baba Huts, the witch on 3 legs that would walk through and eat children. He was a puppeteer. He was a teacher. He worked in the May Day celebrations. He worked at Heart of the Beast Theater. And just seeing all the pictures and all the performances people are posting just made me glad. I'm sad. I'm disappointed, a little angry that I'll never get to see him again, that we never did connect on the podcast. We never did get together for lunch. But I'm in a little better place just seeing the outpouring. I still feel for his kids. He passed away. He wasn't married. I all the stuff he's done, I just wish I knew what was happening to the stuff. Kind of like when Nick passed away. Nick had a huge collection of comics, and I have no idea whatever happened to it. I pray that nobody from Storage Wars found it. People have told me it was recovered in bits and pieces, but I just hope the same thing with Dan. And wherever he ends up, I hope he's out there. And I know I'll be shedding tears later as I think more of him. So his Facebook page is open, Daniel Paulnau, Polnau, if you want to see some unique stuff and just some of the stuff he did. So just a harsh 2001. Oddly enough, and Cory, I know I can't pronounce his name, but Neil Peart from Rush. Is that how you say his last name?
Neil Peart.
Dan introduced me to Rush via 2112. He said, sit down and listen to this. And that first sequence going into the priests of, brain fart.
Cernix,
thank you. Oh, man, just mind-blowing. And I had to rush out. Again, we went to a store called Wax Museum where they had, for like $2 to $4 you could buy record albums. And I had to, literally grocery bags full of this stuff, and I'm on the bus trying to get home with like 50 albums I bought. Just amazing. So much stuff. My life intersected with him, and I know somewhere him and Neil. Well, definitely Neil. I'm just gonna read this. Neil is chuckling somewhere, knowing that hundreds of bands with shows tonight are trying to figure out how to play one easy Rush song. There are none. So. That's my freaking, Mr. Strode. What do you got?
I need to find someone to do some body work on my car because I went to the Walmart to pick up the Crisis on Infinite Earths special issue, and I came out, and it looks like someone backed into my car door. Not very hard, just enough. So they were probably just backing. Boom. Oh, I hit someone. Better take off. Run. It won't be expensive, but it will be annoying. We have hit the second busy season at the office job, and this is a busy season I dread the most because it's not as busy as when people are signing up for benefits, but these are all the people who screwed things up when they should have signed up for benefits, calling, and it's our fault that they screwed things up. So telling someone, no one broke into your account and removed that coverage. You did it at this time, on this day. You pushed this button. You did this. We sent you a letter saying what you'd done, gave you a time to fix it. It's a month after that. So a lot of angry people at that job. And then the group home, I think that there's some sort of illness going around because all week, every day, at least 2 messages. Hey, somebody can't come in tonight. Can you work extra? Somebody can't come in tonight. Can you do the overnight? I had to do the overnight Friday with no warning. I was already there, and I got a call said your overnight person won't be showing up. Is there, are you able to stay? Blah blah blah. Yeah, I could stay. Thank goodness I have my gym bag, or I would have been wearing my my vest and button-up shirt, and I'm not sleeping in that. No. The staff was too tired from the shift the night before because she had, I read where she came in, yelled at a couple of the clients that they needed to go to bed, and they were not in the mood for that. So they decided, well, staff's going to yell at us. We're going to be up all night. But she called an hour before her shift. I'm too tired to work tonight. Well, I'm too tired to deal with anything. So, Joe, what are you geeking on?
I pretty much this whole episode's been my geeking. So I'm just, the only thing I got to touch upon is that I did get myself a new phone for $5, mainly because my old one crapped out. I took a call from Turbo and I had to tell him, I can't hear you. So, and you think it's the service. So I ended up just calling on the house phone. And then later on, my mom called, same thing. And Pat Gruber gave me a call. And I'm like, okay, it's my phone. And I took it in. And of course, they do their damnedest to make sure it's not water damage. It's not something you dropped. And they're like, okay, well, it's covered. We'll send it in. So I did. And now I'll see. What they do is they gave me the new phone, which again is a pain in the glue clip because, me and technology, I got to relog in every single freaking thing. I don't remember my Facebook I do. Somewhere I've written down in a book my last password. The worst is Google because so many things on these, and I got an Android, the Galaxy S10e, and so many things are interconnected. So it's like I'll tie into one account and then my Gmail say, hey, you just changed your password. What is it? Okay, put it in. That's not your password. You got to rechange it. We'll send you a note. All of a sudden, beep, there's my text. Okay, turn around, do it again. Oh, that's not it. Do it again. Beep. Oh, my jeez. I mean, go round and round. And then the next application, same thing. I'm trying to get into YouTube. This isn't you. You just changed your address, blah, blah, blah. You should have seen when I finally got to my Gmail, I had like 20 different things. You just change your account. If not, do this. Oh, you can't make it easy. And I finally got it going. Again, did more of a freaking than anything. But the fact is I have a new phone. I can hear people now when they call. I didn't lose anything because what I did beforehand is I just put all my pictures and memes and whatever onto my computer. So didn't lose anything, didn't lose any contacts. So it's a little different now too, because before they had to like physically link them. Now they use the magic of the interwebs and they just transfer everything. So I'm trying really hard not to drop it because I know it'll be a pain in the. Okay, I guess that's next week freaking. What are you geeking on, Cory?
Comic-wise, wow, we got some good stuff.
That's the other thing, too, is I got 2 months worth of comic books to read. You think next week should be a review episode, or are we going to do previews?
Well, we need to do previews.
Well, yeah, okay, next week will be previews, and then...
we'll reviews.
Well, no, then I'm on vacation. Oh, wait, no. I'll be here. So, previews, reviews, and then I'll be on vacation. Woohoo!
Star Wars #1 picks up right where Empire Strikes Back leaves off. It did not sell 1 million copies like the first Star Wars #1 did, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But wow, was that good. The art is incredible. Almost photorealistic without it looking stiff and posed. But the thing I like best about it is that it picked up the plot thread with this. It starts like a minute after Empire Strikes Back. And it gets into, Luke having a crisis of faith. Leia freaking out over the fact that, the rebellion is in shambles. They don't trust Lando at all, and they shouldn't after what he pulled. Just fantastic first issue. You know, the Star Wars comic started off hot, and while it was never bad, after a while, you just kind of, okay, this is a fun read, but you didn't get excited over it. I'm excited over this run. Basically, this first issue, like, reaches out and grabs you, and it's like, whoa, cool, this is going to be great. And then Thor #1 by Donny Cates. Oh, man. I was worried that after Jason Aaron, Thor would kind of stumble a bit. Nope. Donny Cates is grabbing all the plot threads that he's been putting in Silver Surfer Black and Guardians of the Galaxy and the Carnage stuff, and he hits the ground running with Thor to a point where it's like, okay, cool. Thor's still a hot book. Thor's still one of my favorites. So that was something that I really enjoyed. I hold in my hand right now.
I thought you gave that up.
On 2 jump drives, over 1,100 comics from Valiant.
Wow.
Valiant Classic. Let's see, 695 books. All of the Valiant Classic, you know, from the late 80s and 90s. I haven't looked, but I don't think they have the WWE or Nintendo comics.
No, I don't think licensees count. Yeah, too bad.
And then
WWE, you got 2 guys who would buy the omnibuses as if you're going to make them.
No,
I mean,
I would.
Bad. They were bad.
They were terrible.
I know. I'm slowly collecting them because I do collect wrestling comics.
Oh, they sucked.
Yeah.
Oh, they were.
I know. The WCW ones weren't much better from Marvel, but they had photo covers at least.
Yeah. And then the second one is all of the Valiant books from May 2012, which was their reboot, till December 2018. That is 592 comics. Now, there's an omnibus, Joe. There's an omnibus.
Yeah, but it's not going to keep out the cold winter that's coming.
No. I mean, I'm never home anyway, so who cares?
You can put it in your pocket. What a pickup line. Hey, you happy to see me, or is that an omnibus in your pants?
Actually, I threw the 2 jump drives in my
to-go
book
bag?
Yeah, it's in my book bag that I keep my laptop in. And so I got that to keep me warm at the group home. And that's really the big stuff I'm geeking on. Was really excited to read those 2 books. I'm very happy that they both blew me away, because I was very, with Thor, it was like, Thor's probably going to, go back down to being a mediocre Marvel book, but nope. And Star Wars, I was not expecting much. I'm not going to say that, it's going to suck, but it was like, okay, this will be, an okay read, but no, blew me away. And I love it when that happens. When you pick up a book that you think is going to be okay and it ends up being great.
That's good to hear, because I did get Thor #1, because what's cool with discount comic book service, they usually try it for half price. And I haven't read a lot of the Aaron stuff. I'm picking them up in the graphic novels, kind of like I'm going to do the current Star Wars.
Yeah.
But again, I just got 1. I didn't order 2 or 3, but I'm thinking I may have to go visit my friendly neighborhood comic store and pick those up and just play along. Mainly because I'm having like I mentioned before, how the house is tilting. I've got a lot of graphic novels.
Well, yeah, how many boxes did you haul out of the source when it was $1 each?
I really got to work on weight distribution of Omnibuy. I got calling an engineer here to help out.
Well, believe it or not, kids, you've listened to Joe blather on about what he did on his winter vacation for an hour and a half.
Final frontier.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
Linda Carter is old enough to be your grandma, but she's still hotter than your girlfriend. Cory, hit my music.